Give me mine.
We are live.
Yes, City went.
Okay, welcome everyone to the Finance and Property Committee meeting of the Board of Health. I call this meeting to order at 5:01. And before we proceed, I would like to take a moment to acknowledge that the health unit resides on land covered by the Robinson-Huron Treaty of 1850, and that we are all treaty people. This land is the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe people and is also part of the unceded territory of the Algonquin Nation. I would also like to acknowledge the Métis historical presence in this region. I encourage everyone to think about how they may contribute to the process of reconciliation. Welcome all our guests. And we'll move forward with the approval of the agenda if there are no additional items to be added. And I would be looking for a mover, please.
I'll move it.
So we have Jamie Lowry
Okay.
moving
Dave Wolf, I'll second that.
and Dave.
To second. Be it resolved that the Finance and Property Committee agenda dated April the 26th, 2023 be approved. We'll go to a recorded vote. Rick Champagne,
Yes.
Blair Flowers, Blair Flowers.
It appears he has not signed in yet.
Okay. Gary Gunther,
Yes.
Sarah Inch,
Yes.
Jamie Lowry,
Yes.
Jamie McGarvey,
Yes.
Jamie Restuel,
Yes.
Marianne Stickland, yes. Maura Switzer,
Yes.
Dave Wolf.
Yes.
That motion is carried. Does anyone have a declaration of conflict of interest? Okay, hearing none, we'll move right to our presentation of the audit report with Derek D'Angelo from KPMG. You have the floor.
Thank you very much. So will the financial statements and the audit findings report be being streamed, or how does it, how will it work?
They have it in their agenda packages.
Okay, perfect. So I will, if you would like, I'll start with the financial statements, or would you like me to start with the audit findings report? It's up to you.
The audit finding report is in their package first, I believe, in the package, so.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Isabel. Okay, so looking at the audit findings report, and the audit findings report is our report as KPMG, your auditors, on the results of the audit. And if there's anything that we want to bring to your attention that we discovered during the course of our audit, and also just to kind of go over our audit plan and make sure that if there's any changes from our audit plan, we want to bring those to your attention. So just moving in a few pages to the audit highlights. We just want to give you a sense of where we are. You know, we are now basically complete the audit. We have a few procedures that we'll talk about on slide 4 that we have left to complete, which are standard when we're at this stage of an audit. We also wanted to communicate that we did not have to make any significant changes to our audit plan. We also determined that there were no new significant audit risks determined during the course of our audit. There were no corrected audit misstatements that were required during the course of the audit, no uncorrected audit misstatements to report. We determined that there were no significant unusual transactions that we wanted to bring to your attention. We also did not identify any control deficiencies that were determined to be significant deficiencies in internal controls over financial reporting. There were no changes to any accounting policies or practices. And there were no financial reporting matters that were unusual that we wanted to bring to your attention. So as mentioned, as of today, we are almost complete the audit. There are a few remaining procedures that we have left to do. One is that we need to get the signed management representation letter. And this is standard when we're at this stage. We usually wait. It's one of the last things that we get before we sign off on the audits is to get that management representation letter, and we will have management provide that to us in the next day or so. The other thing that we're looking for is to obtain evidence of the approval of the financial statements, which we hope that we'll get tonight. One of the points that I would like to just mention is that the financial statements, even though they may be approved tonight, they will be dated upon the completion of any of the remaining procedures and finalization of any remaining audit documentation. So even though they may be approved on the 26th of April, it could be dated slightly later depending when some of those items are completed. So just wanted to bring that to your attention. Looking at the significant risks and results, one of the items we brought to your attention during the audit planning report was the potential for the management override of controls. Management is in a unique position to potentially manipulate the accounting records because they understand how the control systems work, so they can override those controls and or make them appear that they're otherwise operating effectively. So we have to incorporate some elements of unpredictability in our audit to ensure that we can deal with this audit risk. And what we do here is that we will look at certain areas of the audit that we potentially may not look at on a year-to-year basis, so that it's something new that management would have to provide to us. We would also look at the testing of journal entries and any other adjustments that were on the year-end basis. And we'll do that on a specific item basis by reviewing the transactions and then asking management for support for that recorded transaction. And based on the results of our procedures, we have no findings to bring to your attention. The next slide on control deficiencies, I already talked about that there were no control deficiencies, so I think we can just go over that slide. The next slide is the other financial reporting matters. Again, the financial statements, there were no changes to the format of the financial statements, the arrangement, or any of the content, so nothing to bring to your attention here. There were no concerns about any new accounting pronouncements that we wanted to bring to your attention. And again, nothing to report from a significant qualitative aspect of presentations and disclosures. Looking at audit quality, quality is something that we take very seriously. This little chart graph here on the right-hand side of the slide talks about all the different things that are done as part of audit quality. And I think the important thing to deal with here is that audit quality is a continual measure that we are constantly monitoring during the performance of an audit, remediating any deficiencies in audit quality, and then making sure that our teams are constantly trained to make sure that they're performing quality engagements. So again, that's just it's paramount to KPMG that audit quality is audits are executed consistently with the required results in accordance with applicable professional standards and ensuring that we have a strong system of internal controls. Again, looking at the audit quality indicators, these are some of the measures that we look at when we're doing or that we're using when we have audits done. So again, we look at the composition of the team to make sure that the team members have the appropriate experience. So for example, here, myself, I have over 10 years of experience auditing public health. 2 years specifically on North Bay, as we were just granted the audit last year. And the senior manager, she has 3 years of experience in the industry, many years working in the public health sector, but this was her first year on the engagement. We also look at things like the timeliness of client providing information to us, All the items that were requested from management were provided within the timelines that we asked for, and we received great cooperation from management as we experienced last year as well. We also talk about things like quality reviews. We have a very robust internal quality control review. If the file was selected for inspection internally or externally, we would let you know that and let you know the results of how that review went. It was not selected. It was not one of the files that were selected, so nothing to report to you on that basis this year. And just as you see with everything, technology is being used more and more. And in the audit world, we'll see more and more technology being used on a consistent basis. So there are things that digital technologies that we are using for monetary unit sampling, for collaboration, where we have share portals where management would upload documents and vice versa. So we are using technology, and again, I think over the next several years, and especially within the next 10 years, you'll see consistently a lot more technology being used. The last pages are the appendices. I don't plan to go over them. Really what they are is just our draft auditor's report, which we'll review on the financial statements, a sample of what the management representation letter would look like, any other potential required communications, and then the last things are audit and assurance insights, which are just things that are going on in the audit and accounting world that perhaps you might be interested in. So I'm not proposing to go through the appendices. They're relatively self-explanatory.
Might be me.
So if they're more than willing to take any questions on the audit findings report, if there are any.
Does anyone have any questions at this point? Hearing none?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes? Go ahead. Please.
I hope I'm in the right area. Page 1, the increase in payable to provincials changed considerably. Can you expand on that?
I think you might be on the financial statements, which I'm going to review right after we do the audit findings report.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
No,
Sorry,
no problem.
Madam Chair. Sorry, Madam Chair. Sorry to interrupt, Eric. It's David Wolf. Can people who are asking questions please identify themselves? For those of us who are on the call and we don't see all of the participants, please identify who's asking the question. And if we could keep to the number pages from our report rather than the slide deck, I know that might be a problem for Derek, but if the chair can keep current as to where we are in our report as opposed to the slide deck, that would also be helpful, please.
Noted. Was there a question that was posed?
No, I didn't have a question. Just a couple of comments so we know who's actually speaking and where we are in the presentation. It would just be helpful for those of us who are online.
Sure, thank you.
Okay, so hearing no questions on the audit findings report, if that's okay, I'll move to the financial statements. So the financial statements, so looking at the second page in the financial statements, which starts the independent auditor's report. So again, I apologize, I don't know your page number, but it's the independent auditor's report. That is about 3 pages long. And really what the independent auditor's report is that is KPMG's report on the results of our audit. So the opinion paragraph is really, that's the first paragraph of the auditor's report, and really that's where you want to start. And we've given a clean or an unqualified opinion on the financial statements for the North Bay Parry Sound District Health Unit for the year ended December 31st, 2022. So again, that's the highest level of assurance that can be given under Canadian audit standards, and that's the type of report you want to get when you have an audit completed. The balance of the auditor's report talks about the basis of our opinion. It also lists what the responsibilities of management and those charged with governance for the financial statements, and also talks about the auditor's responsibility when performing the audit of the financial statements. Again, this wording hasn't changed in several years, so it's the same audit report that we've had for several years. So turning to the statement of financial position, this is the first financial page in the financial statements. So we're going to look at the financial assets and financial liabilities. So what this is, the statement of financial position is a summary of your assets, liabilities, and surplus at a point in time, that being December 31st, 2022, with the comparative figures for December 31st, 2021. Again, I'm just going to talk in round numbers just to make things a little bit simpler for myself. So at year end, there was cash of around $6.3 million, up from $4.6 million last year, or a change of around $1.63 million. We'll see a lot of the reasons for those changes as we go through. But what we'll see is when we get to the cash flow statement that there was approximately $2.1 million of cash generated from operations. A lot of that being an increase in payable. To go to the question earlier, a lot of that going to the increase in payable to the province of Ontario, and we'll get to a little bit more detail on that when I get there. Looking at the accounts receivable, they've gone down from around $927,000 to $450,000. Main reasons here is last year there were some larger receivables that were included that were not receivables in the current year. Specifically, there was around $250,000 from the Public Health Agency of Canada for the isolation program. There's around $205,000 for the 2021 settlement reconciliation. This year, it's actually in a payable balance. So those are two of the biggest pieces of why our receivables are down in 2022. So total current assets are up from around $5.5 million to around $6.7 million. Looking at the financial liabilities, accounts payable and accrued liabilities are down around $325,000 to around $2.1 million. The biggest reason here is there's around a $310,000 decrease in the payroll accrual. As we will see throughout the course of the statement, with the reduction in the pandemic staffing, there was also obviously a reduced amount of payroll being accrued. Last year, there's around $1 million of payroll accrued at December 31st. This year, around $705,000. So we'll see a few of those consistent themes with the pandemic. Hopefully, I don't want to say it winding down, but the costs were coming down in 22. Deferred revenue, the decrease here from $1 million, let's call it $1.1 million to around $665,000. Again, there were some unspent funds last year, which may have a program fiscal year end of March 31st. So we get to defer some of those funds. For example, last year, the Healthy Babies, Healthy Children program, there's around $245,000 deferred. Which there was zero balance deferred this year. The infection prevention and control program, there's around $630,000 deferred last year, and there's around only $450,000 deferred this year. So that was around $180,000 change. And then there was just a few small other little ones that were that had changes as well. But the two biggest ones being the Healthy Babies, Healthy Children, and the infection prevention. And the payable to the province of Ontario, last year that balance was around $400,000. This year it's just under $2.1 million. And really the biggest piece of this is there was a large surplus of funding that has to be sent back. That's around $1.6 million. And that has to do with the COVID vaccine program. So that was overfunding that has to be sent back. There was also some, again, infection prevention for the IPAC hub. That was around $126,000. As mentioned, the Healthy Baby, Healthy Children, that had a repayable this year of around $148,000, and then just some various small recoveries back and forth of around $160,000. But the biggest piece being the amount that has to be sent back for the COVID vaccine program. And other employment liabilities is down slightly. Again, this is consistent with a decrease in wages, and this amount mainly represents the vacation pay obligation. And with less salaries, vacation pay obligations typically go down as well. So total financial liabilities are up by around $900,000. The net financial assets are up in total by about $265,000. So looking at the non-financial assets, your tangible capital assets, which are all your buildings, equipment, computers, software, furniture, all that type of equipment, that's gone down around $345,000. There is the accounting charge for the use of your tangible capital assets, or the amortization. That was around $800,000 this year, and that was offset by around $460,000 of new capital additions, around $180,000 spent on computer equipment and software, around $170,000 on furniture, $93,000 on equipment, being the biggest pieces. And there were no real material changes in supplies, inventory, or prepaids. So your total financial assets, again, down slightly, mainly due to the increase in amortization over any new capital additions. We'll talk about the accumulated surplus on the next page. So maybe if I can answer any questions on each page as I go along for the financial statement, just to make things a little bit easier. So if there's any questions on the statement of financial position before I move on.
It's Dave Wolf. I have a quick question for perhaps you, Derek, but it may actually be more appropriate for Dr. Chirico. This being my first go around with budget and the audited statement process for the Board of Health, are these numbers looking more like pre-pandemic numbers, and the trends that you've seen, Derek, are these more like pre-pandemic trends that would be seen in public health? Or in other words, are we returning to a sense of normal when it comes to our budget and our statements?
I think somebody internally probably is best to answer that question. I'm looking at perhaps maybe Isabel. We are seeing, I would just say the only comment I will have is we are seeing in many organizations previous funding for COVID being sent back. So that is not unusual in any sense. I will talk about that piece.
Okay. Sorry, Isabel, perhaps you could respond.
I would say we're on the way, but this is the year ending December 22, and I would say we're kind of half in and half out of the boat at that point. So 2023 is beginning to look much more normal, and yeah, that's all I'd say at this point. There's still, when he gets to maybe you can show the one-time funding schedule at the end, Derek, and it certainly shows how much the change in the actually COVID costs themselves is demonstrated on that report when we get toward the schedules at the back. Anyway.
And David, I'd also like to add too, and it's a very good question and point that you're raising. I don't know if we're ever going to get back to what pre-COVID was like fully. I think so many things have changed and will change in the future as to public health, and we're not quite sure exactly where we're going to land. So I anticipate that there will be significant changes, and COVID is going to stay with us. It hasn't gone away, contrary to most people's impression of COVID. And I think that we're still going to have to deal with it, and from a public health perspective, and that's going to impact our communicable disease programs as well as our vaccine preventable programs. And so the new norm, I can't speculate exactly what it's going to look like, but it may not get back to where we were before.
Okay, so notwithstanding the fact that I think we all agree that COVID is a fact of life for us from a health standpoint. I guess what I would, as a board member, what I'm more concerned with is the funding relative to COVID has evaporated or is being clawed back now with the presumption, whether it's a political perspective or a policy directive, it's being clawed back because we no longer require it to the same extent. Is that correct? Or are we looking at it from the perspective of something else? I don't know if that makes sense or not.
No, it does, Dave, and you are correct to some extent that certainly the costs of COVID are changing for sure, but there are so many unknowns right now. We still have not heard any word as to what this present year's budget will be. We really don't know. A couple of the programs we have received information for one-time funding, but what's really going to be critical with our funding moving forward is going to be, one, from a municipal perspective, is the mitigation funding and what's going to happen with that in 2024. It's significant, as well as in order for us to reach all of our Ontario public health standards, it is certainly going to have to be addressed, not with one-time funding, but with increases in base funding, which has historically been low, and it has not kept up with what is required for us to meet the standards. And it's something that we are certainly advocating to the government to address, especially in the future. So we really need to have that kind of advocacy if we are to meet the Ontario Public Health Standards.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Dr. Sherko.
Isabel,
thanks for the question, Dave.
Yeah, the only other point I would make is that there's also a bit of a lag in all these things, that we have to request one-time funding in December, January. We don't get told about it until later in the year. So we're always playing kind of catch up. In the years when COVID was building, we were short of money. And in the years when it's declining, we have an excess. So the fact we're giving it back just means that my estimate was not very good, because it was based on information last December when I had to submit it later, and then they didn't fund it till later and all that kind of thing. So.
Yeah, and that's one of the biggest issues that we have, is the lag time to really know what our budget is going to be. And we try to be as fiscally responsible as we always have been, and not overspend what we don't have. And yet then it's very difficult to, once we do find out to what our budget's going to be, to get things in place. For example, it's very difficult to recruit and retain when you don't have permanent dollars. You get one-time funding for things, but that doesn't help us in the long term.
Thank you.
Any further questions?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Hi, Rick Champagne. This may sound off the wall, but the $1.6 million that we have to give back to the province, is there a timeline that money has to be back by?
It's already gone.
Well, so much for that theory.
No GIC.
No, I was just thinking out loud, is that it takes so long to come up with their funding. It's too bad we couldn't hang on to it until we knew exactly what was going on, but unfortunately, I guess we can't. Thank you.
No, within 30 days of filing a quarterly report, they're starting to take back any excesses. So they do it after the third quarter, they do it after the fourth quarter. So anything we report on the fourth quarter that was owing is paid to them back before March 31st.
And one of
we don't pay it, they take it. Sorry.
Yeah. And one of the recommendations that has been a long-standing we've been advocating for is multi-year funding so that we can actually plan ahead. We can, if there was 3-year funding that was available that they could commit to, it would be far more efficient and effective use of the funding. And we certainly are advocating for that.
Any further questions? No? Proceed, Derek, please.
Okay, sure. So looking at the next page, the next statement, the statement of operations and accumulated surplus. Again, I'm going to talk mainly about the differences between 22 and 21. There are the budget figures there, but I'm not going to really talk much about the budget side. I'm sure you've already went through that 22 budget in detail, so I won't talk about that. So looking at the revenues, so there are 3 different pieces of funding from the province of Ontario. There's the core funding, the mitigation, and the one-time. So you can see that the core funding did increase around $700,000. The main piece of that increase is due to funding for the Ontario Seniors Dental Care Program. That was one of the biggest pieces of that increase. The mitigation funding was exactly the same funding level as the prior year at about $1.8 million. One-time funding has gone down. And again, that's all due to the vaccine program. So that was around a $1.3 million decrease, offset by some other small increases. So that was a decrease of around $1.2 million in one-time funding. The member municipalities, that's increased around $116,000, but is basically right on budget. Cost recoveries are small amounts. And really, the only other one I really want to talk about here is the other grant revenues. You can see here that that's gone up around $540,000. And that's mainly due to the isolation center funding. That's almost that increase. The transfer to deferred revenue, again, that swings back and forth from year over year, depending on what's happening. And we talked about the deferred revenue changes on the statement of financial position. So total revenues are up around $1.4 million this year, ending at $27.7 million. Looking at the expenses, and they're listed by program. So we can look here, the largest program is the public health mandatory programs. As you can see, the expenses have gone down around $2.8 million. And a lot of this is basically, it's all due to again, with COVID-19. There's around a $1.8 million decrease in salaries with reduction in staffing that were allocated to the program compared to the prior year. And there also was around a $700,000 decrease in purchase services. Again, that was with regards to having to put on the vaccine clinics in West Parry Sound, North Bay Regional Health, emergency services, and the like. There was also around a $250,000 decrease in materials and supplies, again, with regards to the COVID vaccine programs. So those 3 big pieces, wages, purchase services, and materials and supplies, make up that decrease here in your public health mandatory programs. As mentioned, there was additional funding that came in for the Ontario Seniors Dental Care. Expenses went up from $913,000 up to around just under $1.5 million. And as we saw, that's really consistent with the funding increase that came in of around $550,000. Healthy Babies, Healthy Children program, those expenses went up around $375,000. And again, there were some salaries and benefits that went up. And there were some nurses and home family visitors that were redeployed last year to the COVID program. Well, then now they're moved back into their regular programming. So that's why the costs went back up into Healthy Babies, Healthy Children. And again, continuing to look down, infection prevention and control, those expenses went up around $215,000. And again, just has to do to an increase in activity in the program. There's new salaries and benefits, more programs, materials, and supplies. Miscellaneous grants, that's gone up around $540,000. And again, we saw that funding come in for the isolation center funding, and those are just the offsetting expenses for it. And looking down, really not much other significant change except when we get to the bottom and we see one-time programs. And that was an increase of around $300,000. And there was some, I guess, retention bonuses were one of the bigger pieces in there. So your total expenses went down from around $26.8 million to just under $26 million. So as a decrease of around $840,000. What did that mean is before the undernoted items, there was a surplus of around $1.7 million compared to a deficiency last year of $580,000. We have all those Province of Ontario settlements that we've talked about now that have to go back. That was around $1.8 million in total. So that left us with for the year a deficit of around $107,000, and that compares to a deficit last year of around $677,000. The next statement is the statement of changes in net financial assets. I'm going to just move over that one. We've talked about a lot of the changes on that page already, so I would prefer just go to the statement of cash flows if possible. And the statement of cash flows really just shows the sources and uses of cash over the year. And I always like to go right to the middle, which is our total of our cash flow from operating. We can see here that our cash flow from operating is around $2.1 million, up from about 600,000 last year. But the biggest piece here is looking at the due to Province of Ontario line, and we can see that was around $1.7 million almost. And really what it is we just, because as Isabel has mentioned, we paid the amount that we owe the province subsequent to year end. Really, we had that cash in our bank at year end, but it went out after year end, and that's why it's classified as a source of cash, but not a real source of cash, because really I would just look at that and take the $2 million, deduct off that 1.7, and your net operating cash for the year is around 400,000, which is comparable in a sense to the prior year. And again, as I mentioned previously, there was around $460,000 of new capital purchased. So at the end of the year, there's an increase in cash of around $1.6 million. We started the year with 4.6, and we ended the year with around $6.3 million in cash. All the notes to the statements, there's no changes to the accounting policies. So note 1 details all the accounting policies, and that goes over the first, let's see here, 2 pages. The rest of the notes to the financial statement really just give a little bit more detail on the things I've already talked about. So I don't propose to go through them in all that detail. It goes through everything in all the detail I've talked about. We can go to again just to the back, and I apologize, I don't know the page number would be for you. It's note 16. So it's one of the very last pages before the schedules. I'm not sure what page number that is for you.
It's on page 40.
Thank you, Isabel. So note 16 talks about the expenditures by object. When we looked at on the statement of operations, we talked about all the expenditures by program, not by the type or object, or type of expenditure. So this note here is a required disclosure under PSAB, and it just breaks down all the expenditures by object. And as you can see, again, salaries and employee benefits are your main expenditures, and we did see a reduction in salaries, as we talked about in some of the programs, of around $750,000. Employee benefits also went down to match the decrease in salaries, but professional and purchase services were consistent, as well as, if we start looking down, the vast majority of your other expenditures were very consistent with the prior year. Professional development being up, but I believe that's because people are allowed to actually do professional development now in 22 versus 2020 and 2021. So that's kind of a standard thing. We're seeing travel costs go up, professional development, conferences, and things like that. That's a standard thing we're seeing in December 22 year ends and March 23 year ends, standard, because people are allowed to do those things now. And I don't propose to go through all the schedules at the back. Isabel, I think you had mentioned you wanted to show one of them.
There is the one about one-time funding. Just let me see what page it's on.
Yeah.
It would be Schedule 8. It's on in the package. It's on page 48, I think. In the actual, yes, it's labeled Scheduled 8 at the bottom. It does show you each of the kind of one-time funding there was but it doesn't show the COVID ones here because they were in the main document, I guess. So anyway, that doesn't really help much.
Yeah, but this ties into the statement of operations for those one-time expenses that we talked about with the $300,000 and that. But so that's all I have on the financial statements.
Can I just draw one other point that the board usually wants to know, which is, I believe it's note 4. Let me find it. Oops, I've gone too far. So in note 4, which is the accumulated surplus, it's on page 9 of the financial statements or page 35 of the package. In the middle, it talks about the municipal reserve. So at the end of December, the balance in the municipal reserve was $1.998 million. And the increase for the year came from the $160,620, that is excess municipal contribution, and interest of $40,000. As of today, we're over the $2 million mark because of the interest that's been deposited since then. So in the resolution, you will see the number 166,620 in the resolution. That's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you, Isabel.
Anyone have any further questions?
Yeah, it's Morris Switzer. Yeah, just a couple of questions, and I apologize if they're because of my newness. The accumulated surplus, just some explanation about that, and Schedule 7.
The accumulated surplus arrives, well, Derek can talk about the main part of it, and I'll talk about the reserve. How about that, Derek?
Sure. So the main part of it is, which is, as you see here, is your investment in tangible capital assets. When you receive grant funding for capital, it sits in your investment in tangible capital assets and then gets amortized over time to bring those costs over time into the financial statements. So this is really your net investment in your capital. So that's the $17 million. You'll see on a lot of statements that are funded that the investment in intangible capital assets can be a very significant number. Municipal reserve, Isabel's already spoken to that. And the operating fund is just kind of the working fund, the remainder of funds that are available to be used for basically for any purpose going forward. They're not restricted to be used on something specific. So the investment in tangible capital assets is not cash. It's just your net investment in capital.
Thank you.
And so everyone is aware, we did receive a lot of the cost of the building at 345 Oak was paid from grants, 100% funded grants from the province. So that's why we end up with this large tangible capital asset here. Prior to that capital funding, it would have been all cost shared, but we did receive that as 100% funded. And we do have a municipal reserve policy. The municipal reserve can only be spent on a motion from the Board of Health. So anything that you'll see the additions here, but you'll see that there's no subtractions from it because in this calendar year, we we didn't move any money from one out of it for any other use.
Jamie, did you have a question?
No, I'm trying to turn off my phone. Sorry.
No.
Jamie McGarvey.
Oh, there's 3 Jamies, isn't there?
Yeah, I know. It's a little challenging. Anyway, my question was, is the money that we had to give back, okay, to the province. And I think I know where Rick was coming from with the, wondering whether the money had gone back yet. The money that we do receive like that may have to go back, can the money that we aren't using, can we collect interest on it? Like, does it go into an account where we can collect some interest, or does it actually go into a holding account that they can take the money from or put it in?
So
because there's a significant amount of money in it.
Yes, yes, and that's why we actually have higher interest revenue this year than we've had in the past. Because I mean, in the previous year, we were actually in a overdraft position for a while during 2021, I believe. So this year we did have a surplus. We did earn interest on it. It goes into the general account, but it is part of the reconciliation of funds. So any excess of it becomes part of the operating budget, and it's not retainable. It has to be returned to the province. So it just gets essentially the only money that we hold on an ongoing basis is they tend to fund us about 2 weeks ahead of when we need money on a general basis. If we didn't have any like one time or any held over money from another period. And there has been times during my tenure that we have had to watch money like in the early part of the year, because we've had to return all the surplus from the year before. So if the salaries and benefits, especially the benefits, are often high at the beginning of the year because you have all your CPP and EI to pay. So you kind of have to watch the early part of the year sometimes. So, but that's the way it is.
All right, I just wondered. Obviously, if we're prudent and we do well,
Yeah. We can spend it as long as we have something to spend it on. It becomes part of the budget of the year. So
but they take the interest back.
Yeah, everything that's mine at December 31st is a magic number. If it's not spent, back it goes.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
Does anyone else have any further questions? Nope. Hearing none at this time. Thank you very much, Derek, for doing the presentation today. Thank you ever so much, Isabel, for all your hard work. And
sorry, it's Morris Switzer. I also asked about Schedule 7.
Okay, sorry. Thank you. Schedule 7. Okay, so this funding on Schedule 7, which is on page 47 of the package, and it's only labeled Schedule 7. So the Ministry of Health, I would say it's at least 10 years ago, but I can't remember for sure, at one time was having a very difficult time, and as we are now, recruiting doctors to become MOHs. And so at that point, they came to an agreement with the Ontario Medical Association on a set rate of pay that was considered better. I'll say that for lack of a better word. Anyway, and so they set the compensation schedule for medical officers of health, and they agreed to top up the difference between what boards of health were paying and that schedule, the approved schedule. And so annually, we are compensated for that difference, and we agree to increase our rates of pay on a regular basis. We can't just no longer give him a Board of Health increase. We have to continue with our regular increases, and they fund the difference between that and their schedule. So that's where the money on this table goes. It is payment to the medical officer of health. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. We'll continue on. I'd like to thank both of you for coming today. We look forward to the final report. And Isabel, thank you to all your staff too. I know it's always stressful when you go through the audit process on top of everything else. So thank you.
Yes,
on behalf
they
of
definitely need that this year, because the week the auditors were here, I was sick in bed with COVID, so I abandoned them to the auditors for the week. So.
Well, everything seemed to have gone very well. So thank you for that. Thank you. Yeah, no, thank you very much.
Take care, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Derek.
Bye.
Okay, moving on to 5.0, the approval of the previous minutes. I am looking for a mover, please. Jamie McGarvey and Rick Champagne as a seconder. Be it resolved that the minutes from the Finance and Property Committee meeting held on February the 22nd, 2023 be approved as presented. Any errors or omissions noted? Hearing none, we'll proceed with the recorded vote. Rick Champagne?
Yes.
Blair Flowers?
Yes.
Gary Gunther?
Yes.
Sarah Inch?
Yes.
Jamie Lowry?
Yes.
Jamie McGarvey?
Yes.
Jamie Restuel?
Yes.
Marianne Steckland, yes. Morris Switzer?
Yes.
Dave Wolf?
Yes.
That motion is carried. Moving on to 4.0, date of next meeting, June the 28th, 2023, the time to be determined, live streamed from the health unit at 345 Oak Street, North Bay. Business arising, we have none. Under 8.0 new business, we have a notice of motion. No parting words from Isabel on this?
No, good. We talked enough.
Okay. So I am looking for the right motion.
Start it now, therefore be it resolved.
It's kind of, no, it's not. Okay, so, but this one here is for the reserves. Is that the one that we're after?
Yeah, that's the one. That's how it
Okay,
starts.
because I was looking for something for an audit. Okay, I'm looking for someone to move this resolution, please. Just state your name.
Jamie Restuel.
Jamie Restuel, and a seconder, please.
I'll second it, Marianne.
Gary?
Gary.
Thank you. Therefore, whereas on June the 25th, 2008, the Board of Health for the North Bay Parry Sound District Health Unit approved a municipal reserve fund to be established. And whereas on September the 26th, 2012, the Board of Health by resolution removed the cap from the municipal reserve. And whereas on April the 26th, 2023, the Finance and Property Committee of the Board of Health reviewed the North Bay Parry Sound District Health Unit draft annual audit financial statements for the year ended December 31st, 2022. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Finance and Property Committee recommends that the Board of Health for the North Bay Parry Sound District Health Unit approve the transfer of funds from the North Bay Health Unit General Account to the municipal reserves in the amount of $160,620, and furthermore be it resolved that the Finance and Property Committee recommends that the Board of Health approve the North Bay Parry Sound District Health Unit audited financial statements for the year ended December 31st, 2022, and furthermore be it resolved that the annual audited financial statements for the North Bay Parry Sound District Health Unit, which includes a note outlining the transactions of the Municipal Reserve Fund for the year ended December 31st, 2022, be forwarded for member municipalities. Any further discussion? No. We'll proceed with a recorded vote. Rick Champagne,
Yes.
Blair Flowers,
Yes.
Gary Gunther,
Yes.
Sarah Inch,
Yes.
Jamie Lowry,
Yes.
Jamie McGarvey,
Yes.
Jamie Restool,
Yes.
myself, yes. Morris White Switzer,
Yes.
Dave Wolf.
Yes.
The motion is carried. So moving on to 9.0, the in-camera session. So we have a resolution to move into in-camera. I'm looking for someone to move the resolution, please. Jamie McGarvey, and a seconder.
Dave Wolf, I'll second that.
Dave Wolf. Now, therefore be it resolved that the Finance and Property Committee move in camera at 5:57 p.m. To discuss Okay, so I will be tabling or reading the resolution after I have a mover and a seconder for the recommendation. I'm looking for a mover, please. Jamie McGarvey, and a seconder.
I'm Jamie Lowry.
Pardon?
Go ahead, Jamie. Jamie Lowry.
Jamie Lowry, thank you. Okay, whereas the lease for the Parry Sound Branch office location, which has been serving clients since 2006, expires August the 31st, 2023, and whereas the existing location is dated and no longer meets the current requirements, including the expansion of dental offices, and whereas the search for an alternate location conducted in the consultation with real estate firms, community partners, and with input from others resulted in successfully finding a suitable site. And whereas upon approval from the executive team of the Parry Sound Programs and Services Collaboration Working Group was tasked to work in preliminary space design and lease costs for this location to provide programs and services in the community. And whereas the Board of Health approved proceeding with negotiations with the landlord of the proposed facility to finalize the design, construction, and long-term lease of the space at the September 28, 2022 board meeting, resolution BOH 2002-09-06, and whereas the draft lease agreement for 90 Bow Street, Parry Sound, Ontario, has been reviewed by the health unit's executive and management personnel, legal counsel, insurance providers, and the chairperson of the Board of Health and the chairperson for the Finance and Property Committee, therefore be it resolved that the Finance and Property Committee recommends that the Board of Health for the North Bay Parry Sound District Health Unit approve the 15-year lease agreement between 2043012 Ontario Limited, the landlord, and the North Bay and Parry Sound District Health Unit at the current annual rate of $216,262 with a space delivery date of July 1st, 2023. Any further discussion? Moving to a recorded vote. Rick Champagne.
Yes.
Blair Flowers.
Yes.
Gary Gunther.
Yes.
Sarah Inch.
Yes.
Jamie Lowry.
Yes.
Jamie McGarvey.
Yes.
Jamie Restuel.
Yes.
Myself, yes. Maura Switzer.
Yes.
Dave Wolf.
Yes.
That motion is carried. So without further ado, we have a long agenda, and I would say if there are no further comments, we will adjourn the meeting of our committee, the Finance and Property Committee, and turn the meeting over to someone who's chairing the PPLR committee.
We don't have anybody yet, so we'll turn it over to Mr. Champagne. Thanks so much, Marianne.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Thanks, Isabel.
Thank
Thank
you,
you,
Isabel.
Isabel.
You're going to call order and just do this one. Okay, 1 second.
Just gonna wait a second for,
Okay.
okay. Again, we have regrets for Karen Cook. She will not be with us this evening. So we need a resolution here for call to order. It is resolved that, okay, so first of all, I need a mover and a seconder.
I'll move.
You move it? Maura Switzer?
No.
Sorry?
Oh, we have to do the election.
Call to order, okay.
So we need election for the chair.
Oh, sorry about that.
Okay.
All right, we have an election coming due. We're looking for an election for the chairperson Do we have any nominations?
So we have a nomination for chairperson for Jamie Lowry and Jamie McGarvey at this point.
Okay, first of all, and who's the other one, Jamie McGarvey?
Yes.
So first of all, Jamie Larry, are you willing to stand?
Yes.
Jamie McGarvey, are you willing to stand?
All right. If Jamie Lowry wants it, he can do it. I'm good with that.
I'm good. Thank you, Jamie. From a Jamie.
So then I need a mover and a seconder, so.
It's Dave Wolf. I'll move that.
I'll second it.
Dave Wolf and then Sarah Inch. Seconder. David Wolf.
Okay.
So I need a recorded vote.
Oh, yes, sorry.
Sorry. I need a recorded vote. First on the list is Rick Champagne, yes. Blair Flower.
Yes.
Gary Gunther.
Yes.
Sarah Inch.
Yes.
Jamie Larry.
Do I vote on myself?
Sure.
Yes. Sure.
Jamie McGarvey.
Thanks for putting your name.
Yes.
Jamie Restool.
Yes.
Mary Ann Sticklin.
Yes.
Morris Switzer.
Yes.
David Wolf.
Yes.
Carried.
Okay.
Jamie takes over, yeah.
So we're gonna move
Thanks,
on.
Rick.
Here's your
Okay,
agenda.
I'll need a lot of help here.
Yes, okay. So we have your agenda right here. So
Yep.
we're moving on to
Election of vice chair.
And then,
Do you have any nominees?
no, we have no
No.
nominees at this.
Mr. Chair, it's David Wolf. If I may, I would nominate Jamie McGarvey then.
Okay, Jamie, will you let your name stand?
Yep, sure. Yep. I will. Thank you, David.
Thanks. Thanks, Jamie. Any other nominees?
I'll second it.
Okay.
Okay, so no need for a vote?
Acclaimed? How are we gonna decipher between Jamie and Jamie? That's what I need to, I really need to know. You're J-Lo. I'm J-Lo, okay.
Yeah, you're J-Lo.
Forever. Okay.
Jamie, just like we always refer to you as Mr. Lowry.
Okay.
Because we voted.
Right,
Everybody
so-
agrees?
So we could do a call for recorded vote?
Seconded that, who
And-
nominated?
Sorry, David Wolf, I nominated.
Thank you, Dave.
So I'll call for a recorded vote. Rick Champagne,
Yes.
Karen Cook's not here. Blair Flowers, Yes. Gary Gunther,
Yes.
Sarah Inch,
Yes.
I'll say Jamie Lowry, yes. Jamie McGarvey,
Yes.
Jamie Restool,
Yes.
Marianne Strickland,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
and David Wolf,
Yes.
carried.
Thank you.
That, Jamie McGarvey. So let it be resolved. My writing is very, I could have been a doctor. Be resolved that Jamie McGarvey be elected vice chair of the Personnel, Policy, Labor, and Employee Relations Committee for the North Bay Parry Sound District Health Unit for a period of the year 2023. And that's carried.
Congratulations to both our chair and our vice chair.
Thank you, everyone. Okay.
Thank you.
So now we have the approval of the agenda, 3.0. Which is this, yeah, this is what's on both sides. This should be in have been, so let's see, approval of the agenda.
Here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No.
All right, so am I. Looking for approval for the agenda. Is there any additions to the agenda? We will approve as presented. So we take a recorded vote for that one as well. A lot of recorded votes here.
We do. We need a mover and a second. Oh,
Okay,
for
yes.
second.
A mover?
I'll move it.
First, okay.
First.
First. Seconder? Sarah Inch?
I'll second it.
And a recorded vote. Okay, we'll start with Rick Champagne.
Yes.
Okay, Sway Blair Flowers.
Yes.
Gary Gunther.
Yes.
Sarah Inch.
Yes.
Jamie Lowry, yes. Jamie McGarvey.
Yes.
Jamie Restule.
Yes.
Marianne Stickland.
Yes.
Morris again.
Yes.
And David Wolf.
Yes.
I just like saying his name, by the way. And that's carried. Be it resolved that the Personnel Policy, Labor Employee Relations Committee agenda dated April 26, 2023 be approved. All right. Okay, minutes. So
The next.
So we're due, well, it's conflict of interest.
Oh, yes.
Okay. Is there any conflict of interest to declare? Seeing none, we record that as well. Approval of the previous minutes. So 5.1, which is the personnel policy of the Labor Employee Relations Committee minutes from September 28, 2022. Do I have a mover?
It's Mary Ann, I can move.
Thank you. A seconder?
Jamie McGarvey.
Well, I can't see. I can't see anybody on my screen. Yeah.
Jamie McGarvey, yeah.
So Jamie McGarvey.
Yeah, I'll second. I'll second.
Wait. Recorded vote. Yikes. Okay, Rick Champagne.
Yes.
Blair Flowers.
Yes.
Gary Gunther. Gary?
Okay.
Okay, Sarah Inch.
Yes.
Jamie's yes. Jamie McGarvey.
Yes.
Jamie Restule.
Yes.
Marianne Strickland.
Yes.
Morris?
Yeah, I have to abstain because I wasn't at the meeting.
Okay.
I wasn't on the board.
Okay, so abstain. Okay, thank you. David Wolf.
Yes.
That's carried. Be resolved. I'll get the hint. Good, but I need your prompting. No, I do appreciate it. 'Cause I'm like, what? Be resolved that the minutes from the Personnel Policy, Labor, Employee Relations Committee meeting held on September 28th, 22 be approved as presented. And that's carried. I'm signing. Okay. Now we move on to, so item 5.2, which is the minutes. Is that a duplication?
The in-camera. There's two sets.
Oh, 2 sets of minutes? Okay.
Dates.
You'll need.
Okay. All right. So this is for the Personnel Policy, Labor, and Employee Relations Committee meetings in camera. Doors closed. September 28, 2022. Do I have a mover?
I'll move it.
All right, Sarah, thank you.
I'll second it, Gary.
Gary, thank you, Gary. Helping us move along, it's great. Okay, a recorded vote. Rick Champagne,
I wasn't here, so I'll have to abstain.
Blair Flowers,
Yes.
you. Gary?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
I wasn't here, so I can't, I'll abstain on that one. Jamie McGarvey?
Yes.
Jamie Rastool?
I also wasn't there, so probably abstain.
With a low attendance meeting. Marianne Sticklin?
Yes.
Morris?
Abstain.
Oh, you abstained, you were there. Sorry, I missed that. Dave Wolf?
I'm going to have to as well abstain. I wasn't part of an in-camera discussion.
Is that enough for quorum then?
No.
Ooh.
So we do have a legal opinion
Okay,
that does advise that you do not have to be at a meeting to approve the minutes of a previous meeting.
okay.
So can I clarify? Can we clarify though? Is that usually extends to an open session of a meeting? I can't speak to the veracity of in-camera comments. I was not part of that meeting.
So if you look at the minutes, there are actually no comments from in the minutes. There's nothing recorded in the minutes, and if there was any direction, it would have been provided in the regular session.
Correct, but we're going to deal with this matter at a later point, are we not?
No, we're not going in camera at the moment. This is approving previous minutes from a in camera.
I realize, but we're going to be dealing with this matter at a later point, are we not?
No,
No.
Was there no resolution? So there was no resolution
No.
to come out of it? Okay, I
Yes,
understand.
there was no, this was
you
minutes.
won't be liable for anything.
No,
Okay,
It's just approving the minutes as presented, and
The
as
minutes
you
as
can read
presented.
them,
yes.
that's all.
how many are you short?
I have 1, 2,
Three,
4, 5.
One more.
You want more? Okay, I'll change my vote
Okay,
to yay.
okay. Dave Wolf, what's your pleasure? Are you abstaining?
I can support this, but I'm really, I think we're uncomfortable, some of us, with the notion of that. But I'll support them. Yes.
Okay. Thank you. That's carried. Be it resolved that the in-camera minutes from the Personnel Policy Labor Employee Relations Committee meeting held on September 28th, 22 be approved as presented. That's carried. Okay. Okay, so now we're going to.
Sorry, Jamie, one quick question though, on point of clarification, if I may, Mr. Chair. In the board package, we do have Board Resolution 2023-04. Does that not deal with the matter that we just dispensed with, which was the nature of my original question?
Would that be discussion during that in-camera session?
So this resolution,
Yep.
which isn't numbered yet,
Okay,
that is a resolution asking this board to approve into record that there were minutes taken
okay,
at the September 28th PPLER meeting, that there was an in-camera session. There are no notes attached to the minutes,
and no direction.
and there's no direction, there's nothing coming out
Okay.
of that. Out of those
Does
minutes.
that answer your question, Dave?
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. The date of the next meeting, June 28th, 2023. Please don't tell me that. Please don't tell me that.
Are you gonna give up the directorship?
Jamie's still interested. Yes.
All right, so
Okay, so,
let's see when it is.
okay, so it's at the call of chair, location live streamed from 345 Oak Street, North Bay. Okay, so now we go to business arising.
You're moving.
Now we're moving in camera. This will be. Okay, so we're gonna be moving into camera, so I need a mover.
I'll move it. Rick Champagne.
Okay. Seconder,
Dave Wolf.
I'll second.
second, Morris?
Yep.
Okay. we'll need a recorded vote for this for sure. Okay, for recorded vote, Rick Champagne,
Yes.
Blair Flowers,
Yes.
Gary Gunther,
Yes.
Sarah Inch,
Yes.
Jamie Lowry, yes. Jamie McGarvey,
Yes.
Jamie Rastool,
Yes.
Marianne Stickland,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
and David Wolf.
Yes.
Okay, that's carried. Now that,
6:32.
oh, geez.
Still done. Yeah.
Before,
And we are live.
Oh, man. All right.
The new business.
New business, selection committee, item 9.1. No? Oh,
It's out of camera.
okay. A motion to read out of camera. Okay.
So this is.
So it's the date of April 26, 2023. Whereas the medical officer of health, executive officer, MOH, Ministry of Health, executive officer, Dr. Jim Cherico, has provided notice to the Board of Health Board for the North Bay Parry Sound District Health Unit of their retirement effective July 11th, 2023, and whereas the board is required to appoint a full-time Ministry of Health medical officer of health. Executive officer. There's a lot of acronyms in this, sorry. I was in health too for a long time. For the health unit, Health Protection and Promotion Act, HPPA, 1990, 621A, and whereas the board has two options. When appointing the medical officer of health executive officer for the health unit, A, appoint the associate medical officer of health, AMOH, as medical officer of health executive officer, or B, post the position of medical officer of health executive officer for competition, and whereas the board approved the medical officer of health executive officer appointee will be referred to as the acting medical officer of health executive officer until officially appointed as the medical officer of health executive officer for the health unit by the Minister of Health, HPPA 1990, semicolon, 64, bracket, C, close bracket, close it again, semicolon, and whereas appointing approximately 24%, 8 out of 34 health units currently do not have a medical officer of health due to unfilled vacancies, and whereas succession planning for the medical officer of health executive officer position is an integral part of the health unit's continuity of business framework, and whereas Dr. Carol Zimbalati, I assume you're getting it, was recruited for the purposes of succession planning and was appointed as the Associate Medical Officer of Health for the health unit in 2022, and were successfully employed as a temporary public health physician, PHP, at the health unit since January 11, 2021, and completed a Master's of Public Health degree in 2021 over a 4-year period, in addition to working full-time as a physician. And I'm getting tired reading this. I didn't do all the work.
Would you like me to carry on?
You could. What's that?
Would you like me to carry on reading?
No, I'm okay.
Okay.
You could go to the therefore be it resolved.
Okay, I could?
Yes, you can legally.
Someone do that.
There you go.
All right. Therefore, be it resolved that the Personnel Policy, Labor, and Employer Relations Committee recommends that the Board of Health for the North Bay Parry Sound Health Unit chooses to proceed with option.
And now you can vote on either A, you can say all those in favor of A, or B, whatever you wish to
Now, is
do.
that a straw vote or recorded vote?
No, recorded. We have to do recorded because
A or B?
people are online
Okay.
and you can't actually see some.
Okay.
The choice of A or B is not recorded, it's the final,
Right.
it's the final choice that's
Yeah.
recorded.
So I could do a straw poll for A and
I
B?
think that's out again.
No, I said we're live.
We're live. Yeah.
Which seems a little unusual, but anyway. Yeah, so we're gonna do the poll now, right? Do a straw poll now?
Oh, okay, I didn't set up a poll, but we
I-
can do one very quickly.
Okay.
If you'll give
Here,
me
Carol,
1
this is
minute,
really-
I
It
apologize.
is kind of strange to do this in out of
You
camera.
can't pass a resolution.
Got it?
You
without
can't, but to do the straw poll in camera.
Could have.
My apologies, I guess I didn't think of that ahead of
Okay,
time.
it's all right.
So option A is a point?
Just remind everybody what option A and option B
Yes,
are.
I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
Option A is a point?
A point,
Okay, so option A for straw poll,
and
is you ready to
option
go?
B is competition.
Appoint the associate medical officer, as medical officer, executive officer. That's A. So everyone can take a few minutes and vote.
Option B is.
We're just
Are
getting.
we doing both at the
ready.
same time?
We're gonna do.
Okay,
a
and
line poll.
B, post the position of medical officer of health, executive officer for competition. Lock in your votes.
So, do you remember?
Are you able to vote,
I gotta-
Jane?
I don't know where I am now.
Hmm?
Am I allowed?
Oh, yeah.
I just gotta
Yeah,
find it.
Absolutely you are.
It usually popped up.
Oh, okay, Sherry will help you with that.
Okay,
Hasn't popped up yet.
No, not popped up yet.
all right.
No, it hasn't popped up yet that I've seen, so.
And this one, right there.
Oh, I see. If you go to the block,
Okay, launch.
it'll.
And there's a poll.
Go where?
The block.
Live?
There's the
There's
bottom of the
Okay.
line.
It should come up in a few.
You help Jamie with that?
You just go like that?
Oh, okay. I see
So you're
polls,
under-
polls
right there.
one.
So you make your choice.
If you go to blocks, beside the guy, it says happy face with a hand in the air.
That one?
And then you want-
I don't have that.
No?
Oh, I'm not.
Oh. I would give you a screenshot, but.
So at the top of your screen, you should have something that says polls.
No,
No, it doesn't. I pushed.
no,
in,
I don't
so-
see it.
Oh, is it? Oh, sorry, for your screen, it's at the bottom.
Yeah.
It should come up right in the middle.
Yeah, mine
Actually,
came
as
up
soon
on
as
the
it goes live.
I keep voting
I'm
them.
sorry for the awkwardness
Did it
for you.
Response.
But you're tough to take.
Okay,
You got it.
Yeah.
Yep, right there.
all right.
You know, I wanted this.
There we go.
Good.
Oh,
So is that,
okay, I think I got it now.
yeah, so it's at the bottom and you make your choice there.
Sorry, Sherry, I don't see it.
The 4 boxes on the bottom, punch on it,
Oh,
and it'll
okay,
give you,
yes.
punch on it. It'll say poll
Gotcha.
1, poll 1.
Okay, yeah, your visual is different than mine, sorry.
Okay, so we're going to poll one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and the screen will change. Just letting everybody know before we start the meeting, we'll take a 5-minute break.
There's another meeting?
Are we not done?
Huh?
Are we done? No?
No, no.
Oh, there's another meeting. Okay.
We still have the board meeting.
well, another sandwich.
No, I just need to make a call.
Someone
Yeah.
can.
Are they serving coffee though, Rick, at the next meeting? Oh, it's over there.
I have, there's coffee
Of
right
course
there.
you
So
do.
we still need one more.
Of course I do.
I don't think everyone's voted yet. We have 9 responses.
So we have one more response pending. Oh,
I don't see Dave on there anymore.
I'm still here.
yeah, he's still there.
Do we know who hasn't responded? Is somebody having trouble voting?
It could be my response. I can't find the poll on my screen.
Okay,
It's Jamie,
Jamie, the center, at the bottom of your screen, there's 3 little blocks with, kind of like an askew block to it, right beside the happy face for the hand.
I have a block with an arrow in it.
That's the one.
No, 2 over from that. Right there.
Oh, that's right on that
Yeah,
table.
yeah.
I'll take one with me.
Good idea. There's 4 cubes.
I only have 3 icons there. Looks like 2 heads. It has a block with an arrow and it has a smiley face with a hand.
So maybe he needs to click on the 3 dots for more and the
Uh,
things would show up.
Right, so do you have the 3 dots?
or more?
Three dots I have: background effects, turn off incoming video, put me on hold, turn on live captions, don't show chat bubbles or dial pad.
Oh, you're
That's the video feed.
on the top, not the bottom?
Oh, okay. So can you tell me if at the top of your screen you have icons?
No, I just have a green phone.
Okay.
Or you could just declare it if you wish to.
If you don't,
wish, you
right.
could just declare it, what your vote would be, if you feel comfortable
Or
doing
a
that.
private message.
Sorry,
That's
private
fine.
Sherry, whatever you like
I'm
to do.
okay. I'm okay declaring. I'm looking for option one.
Okay, option
Or
A.
A, okay.
Or A.
I don't know the password, but I'll find out.
Thank you, Jamie.
Okay, thank you.
You're
Okay,
welcome.
so you,
Thank you.
Okay, so. All right, I'm gonna reread it again. Trying to be in discussion. Therefore be it resolved that the Personnel Policy, Labor and Employee Relations Committee recommends that the Board of Health for the North Bay Parry Sound District Health Unit chooses to proceed with option A as outlined above. So congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Now, before I do that, I guess I gotta take a vote.
Got a vote, yes.
Okay, it was premature. Okay, do I have a mover?
I'll move it. Rick Champagne.
I'll
Seconder?
second it. Jamie McGarvey.
Okay, recorded vote. Rick Champagne,
Yes.
Blair Flowers,
Yes.
Gary Gunther,
Yes.
Sarah Inch,
Yes.
Jamie Lowry is a yes. Jamie McGarvey,
Yes.
Jamie Restuel,
Yes.
Mary Ann Strickland, sorry.
Yes.
Morris Switzer,
Yes.
David Wolf.
Abstain.
Okay. That's carried.
Is that good for it?
Congratulations. She plays a heck of a violin, let me just say.
and we can adjourn.
Yeah, it's okay. Thank you.
Okay.
No, thank you.
And you can call to adjourn the meeting.
Thank you.
Do I have a recorded vote for that?
No.
Okay, I call to adjourn the meeting,
7:32.
7:30 PM, okay. Is that in here?
No, there's no motion.
We don't have a motion for that.
You're not gonna resign your chairmanship, I hope.
Well, that's my work done for the year.
I want to make sure you sign everything.
Okay.
So,
5 minutes?
so we'll take a 5-minute break, stretch, and we'll come back to the rest of the meeting.
Thank you so much, Brad.
Jamie Restool?
Everybody took a bathroom break.
Okay. Marianne Sticklin?
Yes.
Morris Switzer?
Yes.
David Wolf?
Yes, sir.
Carried. Item 2, conflict of interest. If something comes up, just let us know. Nothing noted so far. Approval of the previous minutes. Need a mover and a seconder?
It's Gary, I'll move.
Marianne, I'll second.
Marianne, second. Be resolved that the minutes from the Board of Health meeting held on February 22nd, 2023 be approved as presented. Recorded vote. Rick Champagne, yes. Blair Flowers.
Yes.
Gary Gunther.
Yes.
Sarah Inch.
Yes.
Jamie Larry.
Yes.
Jamie McGarvey.
Yes.
Jamie Restool. Marianne Sticklin.
Yes.
Morris Switzer.
Yes.
Dave Wolf.
Yes.
Carried. Move on to item 4. That was item 4. Item 5.0. Date of the next meeting is June 28th, 2023. No motion for that. Business arising, 6.0. Nothing. 7, this time I got you. Geez, this is going to be different. Report of the medical officer health.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's been pre-circulated, and I'd be more than happy to take any questions that you might have with regards to the update. I hope you find them useful. What we've been trying to do with these updates is give you better insight into the programs and services and things we're working on. I also want to mention, too, that if any of you have things that you would like included in the medical officer health update coming forward, what you might find helpful to give you better governance decision-making, we'd be more than happy to accommodate. We've had feedback in the past from the board that they have found it useful to find out, really what we are working on and the direction. I also want to mention, too, that because of COVID, things have obviously changed as far as what we normally do, and that we will be coming up with we're transitioning from the priorities, the recovery priorities, into a strategic plan that's going to be coming up in the fall or next year. But we just have not been able to fully recover to that point that we can do that. But any input that you have is really valuable. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Questions?
I have a couple of questions, but first, just a comment for the questions, and it's Morris Switzer for people. As a new member, one of the things that I noticed, particularly through Dr. Chirico's reports, is I like to think of myself as someone who keeps myself really informed about what's going on in the community, and I really think that most people in North Bay aren't aware of all the things that the health unit is doing, and it's amazing, just the numbers alone, and so I have a communications background, and I know how important it is, and I heard the comments from my colleague David Wolf about with the environment that we're in, sometimes it's very rocky if there's any political connections, and I agree with him. But one of the ways that you try to offset that is by very proactive communications, and is online anywhere on the health unit's website? Is there a communication plan? I'd like to.
Yeah, and this is posted on after every board meeting.
Yeah, the communication plan. Yeah,
available.
Yeah, good.
That we also do an annual update that lists all the things that public health has done.
Yeah.
And we try to do it in an infographic as well, to give sort of, here are the highlights. And these are all the things. And you're absolutely right, Morris. I mean, it's always been a struggle in public health so the public understands what we do, because most of the work that we do is in the background until there's a crisis.
Yeah.
And then we're, as you well example in COVID,
yeah.
Then you're front and center in what we're doing. So again, too, we always have to balance the costs of promoting what we do with public funding to say, you know, this is all the things we do. But it's very important. You got to find the balance.
Yeah,
and it's very important to let the public know what services are available. And you're absolutely right that that's something that.
Yeah, I'm not talking about paid promotion. I'm talking about
stuff that we do. Yeah, it's on the website.
Yeah, about media.
Media.
I really think that well, there must be ways, and we can talk about this maybe at some point in the future. But I really think that that the health unit can do more to work with different media to make sure the public knows the things that we're doing.
No, I think that's a really good point. And if we've got the board endorsement to move down that road, that would be really helpful so that we can do a program like that. So thank you for that.
I'd like, you know, people tonight to be thinking about that, and probably at a future meeting, I might put forward some kind of motion about that. I have a couple of questions, and again, some of it may be related to my newness. Can you explain infant feeding surveillance? It sounds kind of spooky to me, but infant feeding surveillance and I think the report, I had made a note about the dental screenings in kindergarten and grade 2. I wanted to know the number of kids, but I think on page 8 it says 2,070 children.
Yeah, it'll be reported in that, and I wouldn't have the exact number offhand, but we can find out any information you want and have somebody get back to you.
Yeah.
As far as the infant feeding is very well. I mean, obviously we're breastfeeding friendly in the health unit, which is a designation. A lot of work goes into that, and a lot of criteria have to be met for that, because we firmly believe in all the benefits, certainly of breastfeeding, and to really work with new moms and to help promote it. So that's what that is part of.
Thanks.
Do you have anything you want to add?
And just about in terms of the breastfeeding too, it is important to recognize that not everyone is able to. Yeah. So also be able to support whatever mothers can do in terms of providing the optimal nutrition that they can to their babies. And part of this screening is just connecting with mothers in our Healthy Babies, Healthy Children program to ask them about their nutrition and feeding habits for their babies, and then try and enhance knowledge.
Yeah, that's a really important point. Dr. Zimbaldi mentioned that whatever their decision is, we support them in that and provide them with whatever we can do to help them in that decision.
Yeah, thank you.
Is there any other questions for Dr. Cherico?
I don't have a question for Jamie here.
Yep, go ahead, Jamie.
I don't have a question specifically for Dr. Cherico, but when Morris was talking about communications and that sort of thing, it really helped last time when Sherry sent out an email, because I do have 7 municipalities, including my own, that I have to, be accountable to. And she sent out a synopsis of the meeting with, I think, some of the resolutions that were passed. And if Dr. Cherico's report can be in that as well, then that really helps a lot, because that pushes the information then out to the west side of Parry Sound District. So that really helps a lot.
Well, thanks for that, Jamie. That's we'll be sure to do that. Absolutely. Appreciate that feedback.
And I'm really going to miss Sherry because she's very efficient at all those things.
Absolutely.
Oh, great question, great answer. Anybody else have a question for Dr. Cherico or Dr. Zimbalati?
It's your last chance, you realize that. Go ahead, hit me.
I see there is none. We'll move on to number 8, committee reports. 8.1, Personnel and Policy Labor Employee Relation Committee Notice of Motion. I need a mover and a seconder for this one.
I'll move it.
Moved by Sarah Inch. Second by?
I'll second.
Morris?
Morris Switzer.
Morris Switzer.
And you can go right to step 1.
Yeah, it's going to be, this is probably one of the toughest motions we've probably had to do. And it's, take my hat off to you, Dr. Cherico. I'll read the motion. Moved by Sarah, second by Morris. Whereas the Medical Officer of Health, Executive Officer, Dr. Jim Cherico, has provided notice to the Board of Health of the North Bay Parry Sound Health Unit for their retirement effective July 11th, 2023. And whereas the Board have required appoint a full MOA for the Health Unit, Health and Protection Promotion Act, HPPA 1990-62-, whereas the Board has 2 options when appointing an MOH health unit. A, appoint Associate Medical Officer of Health, or post the position MOE and competitive, and whereas the Board approved the MOH appointee will refer to the acting MOE until officially appointed as the MOH EO, for the health unit and the Minister of Health, HPPA 1990. And whereas approximately 24%, 8 of the 34 health units currently do not have an MOH due to unfulfilled vacancies. And whereas the succession planning for the MOH EO position is an integral part of the health unit's continuing of the business framework. And whereas Dr. Carol Zimbalati was recruited for the purpose of succession planning and was appointed as the AMOH for the health unit in 2022 and has successfully employed as a temporary public health physician at the health unit since January 11, 2021, and has completed a Master of Public Health degree in 2021 over a 4-year period in addition to working full-time as a physician, and completed a Master of Public Health mentorship program as part of the PHP at the health unit under Dr. Cherico's supervision, and has worked as a medical practitioner in the health unit, provide remunerated services in sexual health clinic commencing in 2017, and has all the requisite qualifications to be the MOH as outlined in the HPPA of 1990 and Regulations 566, and has been acting the MOH EO during Dr. Cherico's vacation absence and while on call, and has gained valuable experience working with the health unit staff and all programs and service in varying capacity, and as a valued member of the executive team. And whereas the option A, the Board of Health of Parry Sound Health Unit has appointed Dr. Carol Zimbalati as full-time Medical Officer of Health, Executive Officer for the North Bay Parry Sound and District Health Unit effective July 11, 2023. And whereas option B is that the Board of Health of North Bay Parry Sound post the position of Medical Officer of Health, Executive Officer of Competition, and form a selection committee comprised as the chairperson of Policy, Personnel, Labor, Employee Relations, and/or chairperson of Finance and Property Committee, and the MOH EO, and Executive Director of the Human Resources. Therefore, it is resolved that a recommendation of the Personnel Relation Committee has the Board of Health in North Bay Parry Sound has chosen with option A, as outlined above. At this time, congratulations. Well, first I should say is call for a recorded vote, and after that we'll have a discussion. Recorded vote, Rick Champagne, yes. Blair Flowers.
Yes.
Gary Gunther,
Yes.
Sarah Inch,
Yes.
Jamie Larry,
Lowry.
Laurie, I apologize,
J-Lo.
J-Lo, Jamie McGarvey,
Yes.
Jamie Restuel, Mary Ann Sticklin,
Yes.
Morris Switzer,
Yes.
David Wolf.
I'll abstain again. Thank you.
And it's carried. Congratulations, Dr. Belatti.
I was going to ask, because both of the dates, Dr. Chirco's retirement and Dr. Zimbaletti's taking over the job were July 11th, are we double paying on one day?
No,
No.
I'm finished on the 10th.
Oh, okay.
Takes over on the 11th.
Oh, I
No
feel better
double
now.
payment.
Oh, there it is. And again, it's tough to say that Dr. Chirico, we'll talk about you under just before we adjourn. We'll go on with the meeting, get this done. And finance and property, we need a motion for this item 8.2. We need a mover and a seconder. Blair, Flowers,
And I think Jamie Larry.
and Jamie Larry.
Yeah. No. J-Lo.
Whereas on June 25th, 2008, the Board of Health of North Bay Parry Sound Health Unit approved a municipal reserve fund and established whereas on September 26, 2012, the Board of Health resolution removed the cap from municipal reserve, and whereas on April 26, 2023, the Finance Committee Board of Health renewed the North Bay Parry Sound Unit draft annual audit financial statements for the year ended December 31st, 2022. Now, therefore, it be resolved that the recommendation of the Finance and Property Committee that the Board of Health for the North Bay Health Parry Sound District Health Unit has approved the transfer of funds from the Health Unit General Account to the Municipal Reserve in the amount of $160,620. And furthermore, be resolved that the Board of Health approve the North Bay Parry Sound Unit audited financial statements for the year ended December 31st, 2022, and that furthermore, it be resolved that the annual audited financial statements for the North Bay Parry Sound District Health Unit, which includes a note outlining the transaction of the Municipal Reserve Fund for the year ended December 31st, 2022, be forwarded to all members of municipalities. We'll ask for a recorded vote. Rick Champagne, yes. Blair Flowers.
Yes.
Gary Gunther.
Yes.
Sarah Inch.
Yes.
Jamie Larry.
Yes.
Jamie McGarvey.
Yes.
Jamie Restuel. Mary Ann Sticklin.
Yes.
Morris Switzer.
Yes.
David Wolf.
Yes.
Thank you. Carried. Correspondence. We have an opportunity to look at it. I don't think we just want to bring something forward. If not,
There's one more though.
there is?
Right here, this one right here.
Yeah, that's under new business. Though.
No. This is the lease. This is under committee report.
Oh, where is it?
So there's two.
Oh, I apologize. Well, JLo, this is fun, isn't it? We have another motion, a resolution, which is item 8.2B, I guess we call it?
There's two reports.
Or two reports, okay. I need a mover and a seconder.
It's Dave Wolf. I'll move this one.
Who's it?
I'll second it, Gary.
Okay. David Wolf and Gary. I'll fill that in after. Okay. Whereas the lease of the Parry Sound branch office location has been servicing clients since 2006, expires August 31st, 2023. where the existing location is dated and no longer meets their current requirements, including the expansion of dental services. And whereas the search for alternate location conducted and consultation with the real estate firm, community partners, and input from others resulted in the successful finding of a suitable site. And as upon approval of the executive team of Parry Sound Programs and Service Collaboration, work groups was tasked to work on a primary space design and lease costs for the location to provide programs and service in the community. And that whereas the Board of Health approved proceeding with negotiations with the landlord and proposed facility to finalize the design, construction and long-term lease and space at the September 28, 22 Board of Health meeting, Resolution BOH 2022-0906, and that whereas the draft lease agreement from 90 Bow Street, Parry Sound, Ontario, has been reviewed by the Health Unit executive and management personnel, legal counsel, insurance provider, the chair of the Board of Health Unit, the chairperson of the Financing Committee. So therefore, it be resolved that the recommendation of the Financing Property Committee of the Board of Health of the North Bay Parry Sound Health Unit approves the 15-year lease agreement between 2043012 Ontario Limited, landlord, and the North Bay Parry Sound and Health Unit as a current annual rate of $216,262 with a space delivery date of July 1st, 2023. Is there any discussion on this motion before I ask for a recorded vote?
It's Morris. Can I just ask how many square feet that is? I can't remember.
It's 8992, I think, something like that. It's about 8,000.
Okay, thank you.
Was the question, it was 8,000?
About that.
About 8,000, okay, thank you.
8,000.
Is there any other discussions? Seeing none, I'm going to ask for a recorded vote. Rick Champagne, yes. Blair Flowers?
Yes.
Gary Gunther?
Yes.
Sarah Inch?
Yes.
J-Lo?
Yes.
Jamie McGarvey?
Yes.
Jamie Restool? Mary Ann Strickland?
Yes.
Mona Switzer?
Yes.
David Wolf?
Yes.
Carried. Move on to correspondence now. Okay. There's a book, I guess, with correspondence in case anyone wants to take a look at it. It's posted. New business, North Bay Parry Sound and Health Unit Quit Clinic. And I believe we have somebody speaking on it, right? I believe it's Louise Gagne, Chris Bose, Program Manager and Healthy Living.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead, Louise.
Yes. Thank you for listening to us tonight. We have a briefing note that we have prepared for the Board of Health with respect to our health unit Quit Clinic. And we have presented to Dr. Chirico and Dr. Zimbalati a recommendation which was approved to discontinue offering the Quit Clinic service through the North Bay Parry Sound District Health Unit. This decision would mean that we stop taking intakes for new clients effective June 5th, and that we would allow existing clients to continue through the program, which is a 6-month program, until the end of the year. This decision has been based on our public health mandate, the impact of the program to have an overall reduction in smoking cessation, as well as our current funding situation in which the health unit is not provided direct funding to operate a Quit Clinic service. I'll pause there because there is further details in your briefing note, and Dr. Chirico or Dr. Zimbalati, if you would like to add any additional comments.
Other than really to say that we're not, we're kind of moving away from the more downstream person-on-person approach. There are contingency plans in place for that to be taken up. And we're still involved, and we're looking at taking a more comprehensive approach to not just tobacco cessation, but also cannabis, alcohol as a comprehensive approach to substance use, and that we will be following up with the patients up until June 9th to the end of the year, because that's when they'll be finished with the program. So yes, we're still heavily involved in it. We're hoping to do a lot more upstream work as far as yes, you can work with individual clients, but if you can really influence policy at a high level, it can affect so many more people and be very, very impactful. So we have to be very strategic with our resources that we have, and that's what we're certainly trying to do. So thank you, Louise, for that.
Do we have questions for Louise? See, there is none. Thank you, Louise.
Thank you.
Okay, 10.2. Need a mover and a seconder, please. Has everybody had an opportunity to take a look at the for Alpha? Does anybody want to go to it? I believe the date is on there, June 14th.
June 12th.
June 12th, 14th. I wouldn't mind going to refresh. I've been in the past, and I wouldn't mind going. If anybody else would like to go, please put up their hand.
Does that have to be decided this evening?
Well, not really, but you need to register sooner than later, I believe.
Right. So my only comment is I'd like to go online and check it out a little bit more before making any kind of decision or a commitment to it.
Okay.
So at this point, the board could opt to approve a certain number of board members to attend, rather than just naming someone. This would give approval for the expenses.
Right. So what have you done in the past, Sherry?
So what we've been doing typically in the past is approving either 1 or 2 board members to attend.
Let's put down 2 for now, or you put down 3, we can change our mind, I assume, right? Before, or we put 3 names down for now, or not 3 names, just put 3 board members for now. But let us know sooner than later. You have an opportunity to take a look at the agenda. Okay.
Thank you, Chair.
I will send out a follow-up email advising of the deadline.
Okay. Need a mover and a seconder?
It's Mary Ann, I'll move.
Mary Ann. Second by Dave Wolf. Be resolved that the Board of Health authorizes 3 board members to attend the Association of Local Public Health Unit Agencies, ALPHA, 2023 Annual General Meeting and the conference to be held June 12th to the 14th at the Dalla Lana School of Public Health in Toronto. And furthermore, that resolved that expenses related to attending the ALPHA 2023 Annual General Meeting and conference to be paid in accordance with the Board of Health Remuneration Policy F004. Any discussions? Okay, we need a recorded vote. Rick Champagne, yes. Blair Flower?
Yes.
Gary Gunther?
Yes.
Sarah Inch?
Yes.
J-Lo?
Yes.
Jamie McGarvey?
Yes.
Mary Ann Sticklin?
Yes.
Morris Switzer?
Yes.
Dave Wolf?
Yes.
carried. There's nothing in camera, and I think I'm going to open the floor up at there. Dr. Cherico, I believe he has something to say, and then I got something to say after.
Yeah, 20 years. Sherry's been executive assistant, and just want to thank her.
Yeah, Dr. Cherico, I know it's hard to speak about it, but I've been here when I first got on the board, and Sherry's been here, and she's Sherry, you're an anchor, and you'll be greatly missed. And you keep us in line, and I'm sure you keep Dr. Cherico and Dr. Zimbalati in line also. There are going to be big shoes to fill, so I'm sure we'll find somebody, but enjoy your retirement, and you will be greatly, greatly missed by all of us. I know it's a tough thing to say, and especially when you're on live, but thank you very much for all the years you've been and all you've done for us and help make the health unit what it is today. Yeah. I don't know if anybody else wants to speak, but.
It's Morris. As a new board member, I had difficulty, getting used to the technology here with all of its bells and whistles, and I was so impressed with Sherry. She was acting as my tech support person, above and beyond normal working hours, and I appreciated it very much. That kind of staff conduct told me that this was a good organization to be involved with. So I appreciate your help.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Sherry. And also at the same time, Dr. Cherico, you're hanging up your hat finally. You're taking a well-deserved retirement. We've been here through thick and thin. I remember when we first, and then look what we've come up with. We've got a building that's second to none. We started pretty rocky with at the beginning with working with them, trying to work with the ministry to get what we deserve, and we got indulged in the Perry Sound issue, and we got that dumped on us. But then it turned out that it was for a plus at the end. We've all worked good together. We've made this a better place where it is today because of you and Sherry and a lot of the management staff that's been here since day one. You will obviously all be missed, not just from medical officer, but as as a friend and a mentor to Dr. Zimbalati, and I'm sure Dr. Zimbalati's learned a lot from you just in a few years she's been here. But again, this is what you've shaped, and this is what your legacy is left behind. Anybody else want to say something before we go ahead, Dr. Zimbalati?
I just wanted to add my thanks and my retirement congratulations, and just both Sherry and Dr. Cherico have just been such immense supports to me as I've become, more integrated into the health unit, and I just want to thank you so much. I wouldn't be here without either of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm not going to ask you to say something, Sherry.
I couldn't.
I know you couldn't. Again, thank you both, and I hope you do enjoy obviously you will enjoy your retirement. You well deserve retirement. So on that note, adjournment.
Thank you.
And we've got, I believe we got the, if we have any questions.
We have a media question.
Media question? Okay.
Hi, we do have one media question submitted tonight from Stu from Bain Today. As the COVID-19 response winds down, what is the health unit's new focus? Of the health unit's public services, which have fallen behind and will need the most attention to get back on track? And how back to normal are the services offered as compared to pre-pandemic?
I'm going to let the new medical.
Right. Yeah. Thank you, Stu, for that question. I mean, as we've been emerging from the COVID-19 priority, we have identified 4 recovery priorities in consultation with the executive team, with managers, and with staff, and those are nurturing mental health recovery, getting children and youth back on track, prioritizing equity-seeking populations, and strengthening community development. For some programs, addressing these priorities is their routine work rather than a new focus post-pandemic. Some clinical activities did fall behind during the pandemic and are currently being caught up. Some examples of those being routine immunizations for school-aged children and dental screenings in schools. I should add that some services are being delivered differently now than they were pre-pandemic for another number of reasons, not necessarily related to the pandemic, but reasons perhaps relating to things such as capacity and evolving needs in the community.
Thank you. That completes our media inquiries for the evening.
Well, thank you everybody for coming out tonight. I know it's been a long meeting, but it's basically it was a very important meeting tonight. I know a lot of things were done and completed, and again, Dr. Jericho and Sherry, enjoy your retirement because this is actually your last meeting.
And thank you so much for all your support.
Yeah. Thank you. Meeting adjourned.